Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to another trio of subscriber replays, courtesy of Wolfwin. There's been quite a few with Wolfwin, because he sent me a whole bunch. This is 3 replays, but kind of not really, but sort of is. This first replay barely counts, but I'm including it because it's entertaining. You'll see exactly what I mean. So, Wolfwin is in a 3-man BT7 artillery platoon, and they've made a decision about this game. They think this game needs to be won, and they haven't got time for all that killing the enemy team nonsense. Can you tell how this game's going to go? I don't really think there's very much I can add to this. It is what it is. This is not something I would recommend you do as a general rule of thumb, but it will make a game end pretty quickly one way or another. So, can you tell what it is yet? BT7's pretty quick, and they're using this river to mask their approach so that the enemy won't see them coming until relatively late in the day. And, well, like, it's working, which is a bit dumb, to be honest, but hey, if it works, you know, who are we to say that it shouldn't? And so Wolfwin just pops up here, and he's kind of like, he checks, to be fair. He's checking that the surrounding area, I guess, is clear of bad guys. I don't know. Oh look, it's the rear of a Hetzer. Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? Miss. Come on, hit him. Miss. Just for anyone who's not aware, by the way, just something Loki just said, I would like to point out the BT7 artillery is confusingly enough not actually an artillery piece. It's a light tank with a howitzer. Yeah, so just bear that in mind. Right, so I think it's about this time that they kind of come to the conclusion that they can't really be bothered, you know, playing this game properly. Like, the scoreline's 2-4. They've come to a weird position, and what I don't really understand here is you'll see in a moment what they're going to do. But what I don't understand is why they haven't already done it. Like, if you're going to do something like this, maybe pull the trigger. Now, the scoreline's 2-7, so I understand that at this point you might go, well, we haven't really got much choice. But I would recommend, if you're going to do something like this, do it early. Because them sitting there not doing anything has meant that, you know, the team has been without 20% of its team, and so of course the friendly team is now losing. But I mean, well, there's 5 seconds left on this game. I don't really know what I can add to this. Yeah, there we go. That's the thing that happened. Just to add insult to injury, shoot the enemy BT7 in the face for 180. Oh, there we go. I'm not even going to bother to show the post-battle results screen for that. There's really no point. Suffice to say, no one does very well. The most damage scored by anyone in that game was by the enemy Hetzer, who Wolfwin was trying to shoot up the woohoo. But, yeah, let's just move on to something more sensible. Alright, here we go with something slightly more sensible. Slightly. This is Stalin's Hammer, the Su-122-44, a tank I think I might have shown before, but I haven't shown in a long time. Now, what I find interesting about this is Wolfwin again, by the way. What I find interesting about this is, you might remember Wolfwin's IS-4 game, where 2/3 of his ammunition was high-explosive anti-tank. He was packing the heat, no pun intended. Well, who am I kidding? I definitely intended the pun. And this, Su-122-44, no APCR whatsoever. We're swinging from one extreme to the other here. But anyway, Wolfwin is top tier. Well, I say top tier. This is not 357 matchmaking. This is not even like 510 or whatever it's supposed to be. This is about half the team tier 7, half the team tier 6. Welcome to the Southeast Asian servers, with small populations, large ping numbers, and bots at low tiers. I'm not making that up. So, what are we going to do? Well, Wolfwin is once again platooned up with a couple of his friends, and we've got an IS and 2 copies of Stalin's Hammer. And they're going down to the Glacier Road from the south spawn, which, I will be honest, is not what I was expecting them originally to do. I really want to press Z just to make that go away, but I can't because it's a replay. But I mean, it's going to work out. Hello, KV2. Oh, armour not penetrated. Did he get spotted? No, it appears not. I'm assuming Wolfwin here has 6th sense, but he did spot out a T-34-1. Is that guy stock? If he is, poor baby, because I remember playing that tank stock. He must be, because he's only got 960 HP. Oh, you poor darling. Do you know what's worse than the T-34-1 stock? The T-34-2 stock. Oh, that is a horrendous experience. Anyway, that T-34-1 just got a double slapping from Stalin's Hammer. That KV-2, however, is a Soviet tank, and thus it is immune to Stalin's Hammer. Like, we know how this works, okay? I joke. It's not immune. Oh, careful, Wolfwin. You don't want to get in the way of PP's gun. Oh, God. Anyway. Right. Can we possibly do something about this KV-2? The other thing worth noting here is it doesn't look like Wolfwin is using either optics or binocular telescopes. Oh, that KV-2's on fire. He's had a bad day. Which is interesting in a tank destroyer. Now, I must admit, when I originally set my Su-122-44 up, I was running at the time, and this is before Equipment 2.0, I was running rammer, vents, and a gun-laying drive of all things, because I was really, doubling down on the gun. So I do kind of understand it, but I would probably recommend, as a tank destroyer, some sort of vision equipment is probably recommended. The reality is that not running optics or binos is kind of fine when you've got a map like this and you've got matchmaking like this. But, oh, that poor little darling in the E25 really should have brought a fire extinguisher, shouldn't he? And that E25 rammed him. Southeast Asia's a weird place. Not entirely sure what he thought that was going to achieve, but anyway. There goes the enemy E25 platoon. Regardless. Because when you don't get a map like this, when you don't have a really close range firefight, and when you're not top tier, you're going to struggle without that vision equipment, I think. Like, you don't really want to be getting into a close range fisticuffs game with a tier 9 medium tank. Having said that, I think that buggy might have underestimated Wolfwin's reload. Like, this thing gets monstrous DPM. People talk about the DPM of the E25, and the E25 does get very good DPM. This is better, and packs 390 alpha. The downside... How did that buggy die? CS44. Oh, shot him from across the way there. The downside of this thing is, whilst the gun has decent alpha damage and high DPM, it does not have particularly good penetration. I mean, there's another fire. I'm sorry. Any more fires in this game? Oh dear. I really want to play some music in the background, but I can't be bothered to deal with copyright and all that jazz. But anyway, just imagine Firestarter or something's playing in the background. All that. This gun doesn't have much in the way of finesse. Its penetration isn't amazing. The accuracy, I mean, it's alright for a 122mm gun. Ram him! Ram him! Ram him! Oh, sad. That's the game, by the way. So like I said, slightly more sensible, but not by very much. Like, what was that E25 platoon? What were they thinking? Right, you're in an E25 platoon. You come across an Su-122-44. Su-122-44 is a dangerous machine, but you outnumber him 2-1. Between you, you have like something like 6,500 DPM or something stupid. Just hose him down. Don't ram him. He's based on the chassis of a medium tank. You're based on the chassis of a dishwasher. Just ram him. Sorry, don't ram him. My brain's dying. Let's look at the post-game stats. So, there we go. Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Spotter, Arsonist technically twice because he burned 2 of the enemy to death. Which, like, what? Duelist, Fighter, and Fire for Effect. Do you know, sometimes words just don't really work. Can I have E25 platoons on the enemy team like those 2, please? They were appalling. Anyway. Wolfwin finished top of his team, 2.6k damage, 4 kills, 1272 base XP. The T-34 one also did well, 2.7k damage, 3 kills, and over 1000 base experience from him. Yeah, the enemy team, I just... what can you say about the enemy team? 13 shots fired, 7 hits, 6 pens for that damage count. 5 hits received, 2 penned, 1 didn't. 135 damage blocked by his armour, 1.5k assistance. It looked like there was some sort of mission or something at the time, so that was 113,000 credit profit. The game lasted less than 5 minutes. Like, I don't know. I'll be honest, okay. I didn't include this game because it's, oh my god, such amazing gameplay. I included it because it's 2 Arsonist medals, and it's just funny. Alright, there's one more game, and I promise this will be a little bit more serious. Okay? Cool. Alright, last game of this video. We're still with Wolfwin. For starters, he's not in a platoon. And secondly, this is up at tier 9. So, a little bit more serious. We're in the tier 9 Waffle Thrower. The Waffenträger auf Panzervier. The tier 9 Waffle Thrower. For any of you who don't know what this tank is essentially it's a Panzer IV chassis with a 128 or 150mm gun slapped on top in a turret. Well, it's not a fully enclosed turret, but at least it rotates 360 degrees. Now Wolfwin here is using the 128mm gun, which is basically the same gun as used by the Jagdtiger. Like I said, it does also get the option of a 15cm gun, much in common with the Rheinmetall Borsig at tier 8 before it. Wolfwin is using what is probably the more sensible gun here, if we're going to be honest. The 15cm guns on this line tend to be a little lacking in the penetration department, and they're a little derpier. But there are people who use them, and there are people who definitely make them work. Now, this is a tier 9 match, so Wolfwin is top tier, but there are no tier 7s to shoot at, and we're here on Empire's border, which, whilst as a map I don't mind it, this is a bit optimistic, Wolfwin, there's a mountain in the way. Whilst as a map I don't mind it, it's not my favourite map in quite lightly armoured tank destroyers. And in case you hadn't gathered from the fact that this is built on the chassis of a Panzer IV, which is at best a tier 5 tank, well, I guess tier 6 if you look at the Panzer IV Schmoll term, and this is at tier 9, this is a very lightly armoured machine. Just by the way, I'm going to take an aside from this. For anyone who's curious, and you remember I was having a replay bug, where the hit point bars of enemy tanks wasn't going down when they got shot and whatnot. I have found out what's causing that, so it shouldn't happen again. But as far as I can work out, what's causing it shouldn't happen. So it's a bit weird. Ooh, he got shut down. From your perspective, it shouldn't happen again, so that's nice. But it's just, it's weird and kind of annoying. Anyway, back to the game in question. I just thought I'd throw that in here because we do have a period at the beginning of this replay where not a huge amount happens from Wolfwin's perspective, if we're going to be honest. Now, the problem with kind of lightly armoured tank destroyers, especially ones that aren't super duper mobile, and the mobility on the Waffle Thrower here is okay, but it's not particularly special, is that there's a tendency to play them quite passively, and that's entirely understandable because they're made of tissue paper and wishful thinking. One wrong move and you just get deleted off the face of the planet. But the problem with that is that you are immediately handing the initiative over to your opponent. You're essentially saying, I as a tank am only really going to do anything when the enemy starts winning. And so straight away, you're taking your tank almost out of the game for the initial part of the battle, which damages your team's chances of actually winning. Oh, that T-92 is about to have a very bad day. Now, like I say, it's entirely understandable why you'd play it passively. And it can be quite difficult to place some of these machines more aggressively, but that does somewhat hand the enemy an advantage. Oh, 59 pattern, that is a terrible machine. Absolutely woeful. And, oh, there we go. Oh, that one penetrated. Oh, he is having a bad day. And he is looking at the Borsig, and that means, well, oh no, he's gone behind a rock. Leopard prototype. Now, I think Wolfwing gets a little optimistic here. So he's got an AP shell loaded, and he puts the AP shell into the Leopard, and the Leopard actually doesn't damage him. Wolfwing then loads a high explosive round. Now I think this is a little optimistic because the high explosive, firstly it does 700 damage if it penetrates, so it wouldn't most likely kill the guy even if it penetrated, and I know a Leopard prototype's poorly armoured, but it's not that poorly armoured. This thing has, what, 60 pen with its HE rounds? 65. And then he changes ammo type again and almost misses the kill on that 59 pattern as a result. So I do think that was a little bit of a mistake there, trying to go for HE against the Leopard. I would have stuck with armor piercing myself. Anyway, despite the slightly dubious start, you can see the friendly team really is in the ascendancy now. Basically, that bunch of tanks in the south just crunched through the enemy heavies and heavily armoured tank destroyers and whatnot. And yeah, it's looking like a pretty foregone conclusion now. And here you can see the mobility of the waffle thrower. Like, it's not ridiculously slow. You're not driving a T-95 or something. It's certainly faster than the other Tier 9 German tank destroyer, of course, the Jagdtiger. But it's not an E-25 or something. So you have some mobility to relocate around the map, but you do have to be a little bit careful if you want to play this thing aggressively, because if you get yourself into an aggressive position that ends up being too aggressive, you are actually going to have some difficulty pulling it back. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, although Wolfwing's team was very much in the driving seat here, the enemy team have just pulled a lot of kills back, and suddenly, although Wolfwing's team are still winning, they're not winning by as much. And this can happen. The thing you have to remember is, just because you've got a numerical advantage, if you've got a bunch of tanks that are one-shots, for instance, no, I'm not sure if I would go for the artillery there. Well, the artillery dies. I think I would have been looking at the T10 personally, because that's gonna happen. Anyway, if you've got a bunch of tanks that are one-shots, then those scores can change pretty darn quickly. And it's not, of course, just about kills. If the enemy team has superior map positioning... Well, that was dumb. If the enemy team has superior map positioning, they can really get the advantage on you. Just word to the wise, don't drive out in front of a tank destroyer, especially when you're on low health. That's probably not going to end very well. Hello, Mr. Jagdtiger. Oh, a little bit delayed on the shot there. And that was it. That is the game. So, for the last time in this video, let's have a look at those post-game stats. So there we go. That actually ended up being enough for Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Duelist, Fighter, and Fire for Effect. No big shiny medals there. That wasn't... I think it would be fair to say, and I hope Wolfwing doesn't take this the wrong way, that wasn't a super-duper spectacular game for the Waffle Thrower. It was a... solid result, essentially. Good enough for an ace tanker, which is always nice, don't get me wrong. But I must admit, I'm a little surprised that when we see the damage numbers and whatnot, that was quite enough for an ace tanker. That's not a criticism of Wolfwing, that's just looking at the result there. So if we look at how things went, 3,500 damage, 4 kills I suppose, 1,127 base experience. That seems quite low for an ace at tier 9. Sorry about that. But then again, I suppose this is a machine that isn't really a meta tank and people probably play quite passively. So well done to the E50, 3.7k damage from him, the Object 263, 3,000 damage from him. Between the three of them, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's 9 kills, that's pretty good. Commiserations to the enemy Jagdtiger and Rheinmetall Scorpion. Each of those on about 3,500 damage, but not enough to carry their team. So, commiserations to them. 8 shots fired, 7 hits, 7 pens for that damage count, 3,500. Most of which, to be fair, was from fairly close range, and I think that's probably going to be helping with the XP there. For anyone who doesn't know, you get more experience basically for shooting things that are close to you than far away, for a variety of different reasons. 1,000 assistance damage as well, so when you see in the title Wolfwind put 4.5k combined, that's what he's getting at. An 87,000 credit profit, okay, there was a thing running at the time, but that's still a pretty nice profit to have. For a game that wasn't that long. So there we go, there's a selection of games for you from Wolfwind. Thank you very much to Wolfwind for sending them in. I hope you guys enjoyed, maybe had a little bit of a giggle. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos. You can subscribe to the channel if you're not already, you can support me on Patreon, you can join the Discord, there are links in the doobly-doo down the bottom. And as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.